One of the biggest lessons that I've had to learn from going from a successful agency owner to now starting a software with absolutely no experience whatsoever is the art of being able to learn how to design, learning how things work, learning how to correctly position things so they're really able to speak to the user, get them on board with my actual software itself, not find things really hard to be able to use. And this skill has taken a lot of time to learn. I'm still growing on it tremendously. But within this video, my whole entire objective is no matter what you do, if you're an agency owner, you're getting into software, it really doesn't matter. Learning how you're able to make designs that really speak to people, that get them on board, really prevent them from churning. Because let's face it, design is pretty much in every single thing we do. On our phone, if you're using iOS, etc., you're using Android, you want things to be nice to use. You want things to feel effortless. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you, really how I went around learning it. So if you're an agency owner, maybe you have some sort of client portal. You want to be sure that users can navigate this really easily for your software, whatever it is. So I'm going to run through this right now. So as you can see here, I've laid out some sort of Miro board for us to be able to use. And my laptop's here, by the way, and my camera's there. And the key things which I've had to learn from doing this and which I've really found are really the key principles behind successful design is going to be the following: font, color, spacing, size, and theme. Okay, so right here, what I've done is I've just listed out a few different softwares, applications, which they don't have bad UI UX design, but you could say they could be improved. So let's go through each one. I'm going to label the reason why. So sleep tracker, it does exactly what it's intended to do. Every single day you're able to say, okay, I set for 8 hours, I set for 3 hours, whatever it is. Yeah, of course, it does its role. But when you start looking further into this, you as a user ask yourself, is this really going to be something that you want to wake up to every single morning and fill out? You're not really getting any sort of reward from it. It's pretty boring. Now let's look at this one. It just feels really clustered. You're looking at it and you're feeling overwhelmed. And then let's look at this one. Once again, it just feels really overwhelming with all the text. And I used to make this mistake all the time. I used to, when I was first sending the Figma designs to my developers, I was making things really clustered because in my eyes, I always thought the more information, it made me look smarter, it made my software look better. But that's not the case. I really had to step back and take a look at things from a user interface. And the first thing I learned was font, and I'm really excited to show you through. So firstly, when it comes to font, the biggest mistake I made myself and what I see a lot of people make is they try and go for these crazy fonts. Like, you're not a clothing brand owner. What you need to understand is that if you run a clothing brand, any sort of physical products like more water, it doesn't matter what font you do, because it doesn't need to be generated by a computer, but anything you're using for your software, etc., for your agency, it is extremely, extremely important that it's going to be, like a natural operating system. So the best one to really go for is Google Fonts. Every single person uses Google. It's brought across all the other Internet Explorers, like what other ones are there, like Bing, Firefox, etc. So Google's always the safe bet to go for. And another big mistake people typically make is they go for far too many different font styles. So I want you to look at this right here. It's a completely same font every single time, but it's just making use of different sizing, different lightness, which we'll go into in a second, and then finally, different thickness. You see, you don't need to constantly differentiate between different fonts. And all of what I'm saying is going to make sense near the end. It's going to be like a wow kind of moment. So just bear with me, okay? So now I want us to go on to the HSL scale. And this is really a key finder for me when it comes to it. So what HSL stands for is hue, saturation, and lightness. So hue is essentially going to be your color wheel. So that's like a color from 0 to 360. So saturation is essentially, I want you to look at that as the intensity of the color. So when we have 100%, as you can see, super, super yellow. But when we lower it down to 0, it kind of fades out. And then when we compare that to lightness, I want you to see that as the brightness of the color, okay? So once again, 100, you see, really, really shiny. But when we lower it down, is to 0. So by us now going to font, as you can see, without us even needing to go and change the font, add a bunch of different colors, we can use one simple color palette, but we can change the HSL scale of it. So we can have so many different variations. And this is going to allow for a lot more consistency. So if we look at this right here, as you can see, they are once again using the exact same font. All they've done is change the boldness and then change the HSL scale. So I believe here they've just changed the saturation of it and not the lightness. You see where I'm getting? And this is why it's a really important skill to learn. And next, what do we have? The spacing. And when I tell you that it was really, really hard for me to learn. And I want to walk you through exactly why it was so hard for me to learn right now. So if we take a look here, I'm going to ask you the question, do you think this is a group together? So 6 circles, or is it 2 independent circles of 3? And this would be an example of bad UX design. It's really, really hard to be able to tell. So how can we split it up? And this took me a very long time to be able to learn. Okay, 1, we can increase the spacing. From here, you can clearly see, okay, this is 2 different circles. You can clearly tell with the spacing, but what if we wanted to take it a whole nother step further? What if we wanted to make this our main circles for our main control dashboard, and then we wanted to make this smaller? As you can see, each time we're clearly differentiating and we're letting the user know the difference. This is a very key finding. But what we can also do here is we can then go back to color to further support us within this. And obviously if that was text, we could then rely on font to support us. So what we could do in this situation is we can mess around with the HSL. I had to use Figma for this, not Miro, and we can once again change the sizing of it, but we can also change the brightness of it. So as you can see, we've lowered this down to 80%. Now there's a clear difference in size, spacing, and the color, helping to really take the user on a really brilliant experience. And as you can see, these are really, really amazing takeaways to find. And just simply from me just learning these 3 simple things, it's helped me really develop within my software, really help ensure that when a user goes onto it, it's as simple as possible. They know exactly what they're doing and they can navigate things. Because I'm sure you've had it before, when you have a very complicated software, you're probably going to churn just because it's like, this is too crazy for me. I don't want to have to figure out all these different things. And this is why it was so important to make this. So now I want to go to theme, and theme is just super, super important. And I know we briefly touched upon it earlier here, but let's just go back to it. So once again, like I said, it's just boring. Like, are you really going to want to wake up every single day and just tick that? Probably not. And this is down to the fact, and this is a really, really important thing for you to understand in any sort of design. Let's say you're doing agency dashboards. Your software is intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. But this, when it comes to user interfaces, okay? So let's look at intrinsic first, purpose. They've clearly mastered purpose here. We are providing a purpose with sleep tracking. You're tracking your sleep because you want to improve. But then let's look at extrinsic motivations. So reward, punishment, and compensation. If I don't do something on here, if I don't track my sleep, like I'm going to get nothing from it externally, okay? And this is why it's not the best, because it's not going to motivate me. So you're probably asking, okay, you've told me this. How can we further expand on this extrinsic motivation? How can we really make users, like feel as if they're part of it, feel like they're getting some sort of motivation from it? And look, it's so simple. We can just further add emotion and expression to what we're doing. So you can see we can add simple emojis here. So if you slept good that night, smiley face, the best. If you slept the best, heart face. And as you can see, the worse it gets, we have expressions further adding to this extrinsic. So you can see we can kind of go into punishment here. And once again, we can further just change the UI to whatever's best. I really like this. And the reason behind it is it's like some sort of scroll wheel. Okay. But let's further add to this, because we can definitely still add to the reward and punishment section, and as well as the compensation. And you know who does this extremely, extremely well? And this is why their churn rate is so low, because they've mastered both intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. It's Duolingo. So look, If I do amazing in Duolingo, I get celebrated. It's like really well done. But if I fail, I get made like feel bad. Like, why do you fail? What's the excuse? And this is once again providing to that punishment section because I want to be like, okay, so I failed. I didn't do what I was going to say. I broke my streak. Tomorrow, I need to crush it. I need to ensure it doesn't happen. And this is going to further motivate me to be like, okay, I got to go hard on this. I got to use Duolingo every single day. And this is what we really focus on achieving with Fusion AI. For like people who haven't met their editing goal this way, they're really going to want to crush it and they're going to be a lot less likely to churn. And the reason behind that is because if we can say like, hey, John, you didn't meet your editing goal, you didn't meet your content goal, you said you were going to go film 30 videos this month, you only filmed 20, they're going to be like, damn, next month I need to crush it. And they're going to be a lot less likely to quit just because we've provided this sort of motivation to them. They want to prove to us that they can do it. And this is why understanding these sorts of motivations when it comes to any sort of user interface is extremely, extremely important. And now let's go into these ones. So what do you see with it? Firstly, too many steps. It's like, it's funny actually, I had to book a flight on them when I was with my friends when we went out to Budapest for New Year's. And let me tell you, it literally took me about 30 minutes. Only reason I didn't switch because we booked it so last minute. I would have used another airline otherwise. But 30 minutes. And then at the end, they then just hit me with a bunch of added prices. It was like, this user experience is just terrible. And with this one, there's just too much going on. Like, I don't know where to look. I don't know if this is like the name of them, if this is like the title. There's just far too much going on here. And what do both of these cause? Why they cause a cognitive overload. So the causes inconsistency, confusion display, poorly primed, bad mood. I wouldn't necessarily say it's going to be like that for the software, but definitely these ones, confusing displays. This is like, where do I look? It's crazy. So this is why we need to improve it. So I actually took a bit of time to really just go ahead and improve WAPs. And once again, I think WAP's amazing. Within my agency, we actually used it to house all our training on for our clients. Like, it's better than school and everything, I think. So I'm not cussing at all. I think the founders of it, I forgot their name, but it's either 2 or 1. They're geniuses either way. I've watched your interview with this guy. I've even forgot the guy's name, but I think they're smart. But this is personally just kind of like what I've taken away from it. And I don't know why there's a line here. There's not meant to be a blue underline here, by the way. So look, I've just tried to make it a bit simpler. And doing from what we've learned, let me walk you through it. First and foremost, the fonts, okay? So as you can see, I've made this font not as bold because the main people aren't necessarily going to care too much about the course creator. They're going to care what the course is. So as you can see, I've made this the most bold. Scale your business to 10K per month. But I've made it dynamic. I've put an extra color behind it so it doesn't blend in. It looks like a whole nother element. And as you can see, this goes back to us with the spacing. We're adding separate colors, but obviously this time we're adding some sort of backlit color. And then once again for here, we're adding a nice back color and we're just messing around with the HSL here just to further add that dynamic feel. I've removed the minutes spent. They must have done it for a reason, I'm not in the course community world. We own the world's first AI content tool. So they've probably done it for a reason. But to me, it just looks messy. It kind of looks like, whoa, too much is going on here. And then finally, because I know for anyone, this is going to be extremely important, the stars, like how is this performing? And as you can see, this just looks so much simpler to be able to navigate. So yeah, these are really my main findings, because what you need to understand is that I've no experience coding. I'm not doing any of the coding at all. I'm really just focused on the UI and trying to make it as effortless as possible. Like my entire goal with the software, and that's why it's taken us so long to launch. And like we're very close to launching now, is making things make sense. I want people, like, no matter if you've edited before, scripted content before, to be able to go onto it and be like, okay, so I need to do this. This is how the workflow works. This is how I add B-roll. This is how I change my captions. This is how I use the scripter. We need to make it make a lot of sense. And these have been the principles that I've been using. But yeah, I just wanted to film this quick video to really just walk you through everything. In case you don't know what I'm doing, I'm building the world's first all-in-one AI content tool. I won't go on it too much here because I understand this video is talking about my design process, how I'm really making beautiful user interfaces for my software, getting all the UX right. But if you want to check it out and see it firsthand, feel free to watch all my other videos. And if you do create any sort of content whatsoever, you're a content creator, business owner, agency owner, it doesn't matter what it is, go to the first description below and feel free to sign up to Fusion AI for completely free. Once again, it's the world's first all-in-one AI content tool, and the whole entire goal for it is for you to be able to create content in a matter of minutes. You don't need to spend thousands per month on editors, copywriters, etc. Or even if you do it yourself, you don't need to spend hours. It does it for you like that. So click on the link below, check it out. I speak about so much on there. And thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.